Hello, this is Les. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to show some agate rings that I've been making. I've been wanting to do this for quite some time. These are made from Superior agates, Superior, Minnesota, Lake Superior. They're very hard and pretty agates, banded agates for the most part. But primarily I wanted to talk a little bit about the rings that I've made. You can see that they're basically a coin ring with bezel made out of another coin, in this case a dime. And I made a little form so I could shape the dime into a bezel cup and set the stone in there, and then the sides are crimped in with a little tool that I made to hold a rock from coming loose. So the agate is ground with a little bit of a cone taper to it. And I'll show a few of the rings here in more detail. And then the bezel top, the little cup that holds the agate, is silver soldered onto the coin ring. In this case right here, the ring is made from a quarter and the bezel cup is made from a dime. In this case, this is also made from a quarter. Here's a smaller size one made from a nickel. The ring is made from the nickel and the bezel cup is made from the dime. And then I have some very small children's size rings where the ring is made out of a dime and the bezel cup is made out of a part of a dime, the center part of the dime. In other words, I cut the diameter of the dime down to ½ an inch and form it in a little press. Get another shot of some of the smaller rings up here. I'm not going to talk about making the rings because there's so many videos on making rings out of coins that this would really be duplicative, but I do make a little flat cut on my coin rings for mounting the bezel cup. This is what the bezel cup looks like. And the hardest part is machining a little cup in there that's more uniform and straight-sided so I can set the stone in there and then crimp the sides in to hold it. So then this is what the finished ring looks like before the stone is set into it. And they're very strong. This silver solder is not going to let go. The ring would be destroyed if you would try to break that off. The little forming die that I made I made it on the lathe. It's very simple. That's what it looks like, or that's it right there. And I put a 1/16 inch hole in the dime to keep it from moving around when I press it into shape. Before I was putting the hole in there, I was having a problem with the cups coming out a little bit lopsided. They would shift in the process of pressing them. So this is kind of fix that problem a little bit. And then the top goes on like that. And then it just goes in this little vise, which I have mounted on my drill press, and tighten that down, and it forms the basil cup. So after the cup is formed, I put it in my lathe and I machine a flat spot on the back side so that it sits nice and square on the bands. Which have a little flat spot machined on them, and this is done in my milling machine. I initially was just using a hand file, and that works fine, but if you get it a little bit off, then the ring looks a little bit lopsided, and this way it's easier to hold things together nice and square, and the rings come out looking nice and square. I have a little jig here I made up for holding the basil cup and the ring for silver soldering. Then this goes in my vise. This part right here basically just holds the ring. This is the old lapidary machine that I cut and grind the agates with. Got a little water supply right here that drips on the diamond blade. Like that. This little gate right here holds the agates for cutting. And I put a stack of washers on the post here, and then take a set off each time I cut a slab. And obviously that's what I'm doing this morning, is I'm trying to cut some slabs. It's a very slow and tedious process. This is what they look like. I'm surprised it's so dark out here. It seems much brighter to me than the way it looks on the camera here. But anyway, I'll grind these into round shapes and then by hand. I will grind them to fit into the little ring basils. And this is what the lapidary machine sounds like when it's running. Did I mention that I'm out in my garage? I've got a tarp up and an electric heater because it's pretty cold here this time of the year, Minnesota. In my workshop, I don't have room. It'll be nicer in the summertime. So the agates are super glued on these little sticks and ground into a shape using this little tilted table down here to get the correct angle. And I grind them until they fit in the basil cup like that. Then I remove them from the little stick and super glue them on the opposite side and grind the finished shape, and then I take them into the basement where it's warm, and using sandpaper I smooth them and sand the lines out of them, and they look like that, and they're ready for polishing. And that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to polish them. I have several that are ready to polish and set into the rings. Okay, the machine is switched over to polishing now. It has this felt on it, and I'm putting some polish on. Guess this is called tin oxide. Well, here I am back in the workshop. And with a little better lighting, I will re-show how the agates are initially ground to with the taper to fit into the basil cup like that. Then have a little tool that crimps it tight on the stone, and I'll show that in a little bit. And here's what the stones look like that I just finished polishing. Again, once they're ground to fit in the basil cup, I remove them and glue them the other way and grind the dome on them, and then polish them with silicone sandpaper right over there. Okay. The super glue doesn't release very easy, and this is how I get the stones off. Whoop, that one came off pretty easy. Made a liar out of me. Okay. Okay, that's in there tight.